My project will be focusing on the Black arts movement. Um, it's a rich part of African American culture, and I really enjoyed looking at it, reading um, these literature pieces, as well as listening to music aspect. Um, and here is a clip I'm going to share. It's by Mary Baraka, and it's titled "Somebody Blew Up America."
Somebody blew up America. All thinking people oppose terrorism, both domestic and international. But one should not be used to cover the other. Somebody blew up America! They say it's some terrorist, some barbaric Arab in Afghanistan. It wasn't our American terrorists, it wasn't the Klan, or the skinheads, or the them that blows up nigger churches or reincarnates us on death row. It wasn't Trent Lott, or David Duke, or Giuliani, or Schumler. Helms retiring. It wasn't the gonorrhea in costume, the white sheet diseases that have murdered black people, terrorized reason and sanity, most of humanity, as they pleases. They say, who do the saying? Who is them paying? Who tell the lies? Who in disguise? Who had the slaves? Who got the bucks out the bucks? Who got fat from plantations? Who genocided Indians, tried to waste the black nation? Who live on Wall Street, the first plantation? Who cut your nuts off? Who raped your mom? Who lynched your pa? Who got the tar? Who got the feathers? Who had the match? Who set the fires? Who killed and hired? Who say they God? Still be the devil.
So this was a really good piece, and when I first saw this, really thought it was a powerful message. He's talking about all these people during terrorism, blaming a group of people for wrongdoings and um, kind of just it was all their faults. But when we look back on history, these same things were done to African American people. Um, very horrible, as he mentioned, um, burning down churches, um, diseases that got to African American peoples that were killing numerous people. Um, I also really enjoy this video because it intertwines the jazz aspect. And as I learned, this was very crucial in the Black arts movement. Many poets would add a jazz rhythm to their piece. It gave a sense of identity and um, really was a big part of their culture. Um, he is just giving thoughts from how how white people would feel if this all happened to them, when they're so quick to blame and are so ignorant to the fact that they were doing all of these things, even worse. And it's a very powerful message. You can hear the power in his voice that this is not okay and there needs to be a different outlook on the world. Um, and then I have another piece I'm going to share. It's Amiri Baraka again on arts and politics, and I think this is very fitting. Like I said, he was a big part of the Black arts movement and bringing awareness to people throughout the world. And by educating people, we're making sure that this doesn't happen again, or that we see it more clear, so it's less likely to happen. And here's the next piece.
I want to welcome everybody to Art and Politics, a vanguard in the Black arts movement. Your guest speaker tonight is Amiri Baraka. Briefly, by the way, my name is Matthew Pfeiffer. I've worked with a coalition of students and organizations to put this together, and I'm very grateful for it. And so first and foremost, we're going to thank a couple of people, a couple of organizations. OCCM, the Off-Campus College Meeting, specifically Justin Marcello and all those who have worked in accordance with us to make this happen. Mass GSO. For expediency, I guess I'll just read them all off and then we can clap when we're done. GSO, the Sociology Graduate Student Union, the GVPMA, the ICA, EOP, Steve Duarte, Professor Opeu, the Cultural Committee of OCCM, Professor Patterson, BSU, LASU, the many student organizations who have helped to promote this organization. There's too many to really list. And the many students who have just, spread the word of mouth. And we're really thankful that this could come to fruition. So without further ado, I want to introduce a distinguished professor. He was actually appointed to the SUNY Board of Trustees. He received a Guggenheim Fellowship last year and will be spending the next semester studying African mythology. He actually introduced me to Amiri Baraka when I was a junior in a jazz poetry class, and I've just been really interested in his work ever since. So without further ado, Professor Opeu.
Thank you very much. Been here a couple of times, I know that, in Binghamton. But as I get older, I start confusing when and where, to tell you the truth. The books to read. There's a new book out called Art on the Line, edited by Jack Hirschman. Essays by Latin American revolutionary artists like Cesar Vallejo, some of the greatest poets, for instance, in the world come from Latin America. Neruda, for instance, Eduardo Cardenal, Nicolas Guillen from Cuba. And also, it's another book. In terms of trying to understand why Neda is so backward, you should read volume 15 of Lenin. Can you get that somewhere? I know this is a college, you can go up in here. Read an essay called Why Liberalism Separated from Democracy. This is very important to understand why, and why people can go for that, thinking that they're doing something revolutionary by putting George Bush back in power. So, if we say now, what are the tasks that we have to do, as far as I'm concerned? First of all, we have to beat Bush. You know that. I don't care what you're doing. You need a united front to beat Bush. That's the first thing. He's gonna kill everybody. Even Americans, even white people, they're gonna be killed. As you can see, 700 people got killed since peace was declared. You know what I mean? Why don't they have a draft? If they had a draft, you all would be out there in the street protesting. See? They know if they don't bother you all, your students, the petty bourgeois, the aspirant petty bourgeois, then everything will be cool. Because all the poor people, the working class, the oppressed nationalities, the blacks, the Latinos, the Asians, and them poor whites, be all you can be, they say, for 10 minutes before they kill you. So that's what's happening. They have a working class, poor, oppressed nationality army. You know, and you saw Rumsfeld on television explaining that this was the best army, you know. So the key task, overall, the key task for me is to fight for democracy, to fight for a people's democracy. First of all, the things that happen in the United States, the Constitution itself are backward. You know what I mean? You don't need an electoral college. George Bush was beat by 500,000 votes. That's what, the fourth time that's happened? 3 or 4 other times. So first, the electoral college has to be gotten rid of. You have to have direct democracy. You can vote from your job, from school, from your house. You understand? They follow you around to get your taxes, but they don't do that for voter registration. You don't care whether you register to vote or not. You see, you have to take the money out of the electoral process. There can be no private funds. You understand what I'm saying? As long as you have private monies given to the election, rich people will win. Isn't that logical? They got the most money, they're gonna give up the most money, and they're gonna win. You see? And then
So this is Amiri Baraka talking to a group of college students. I really liked his points on direct democracy, him saying the electoral college can kind of be misleading because not always the person with the most votes will win. And he also talks about the kind of separation between poor and rich people, and how rich people will have more influence on the country. It kind of goes to show that this is corrupt, and it's important to keep together and show up in groups to prevent this from happening. The more people that get involved in corruptness, whether that's dealing with voting or discrimination, it's important to come together, because as an individual, you can't make as much noise as you can with a group. And going back to some things we learned in this class, when we read Parable of Sorrow, Lauren brings this group of people together through Earthseed. There's a lot of corruptness going on and bad things as far as like drugs and crime. And she creates this group, and it's important to bring people together rather than pushing them away from each other. It's easier to defeat bad things going on in the world, such as discrimination. And as Baraka was talking about, kind of basically unfair elections. And this is important because, I mean, no one person can make a change in the world. And we've seen this through the Black Arts Movement. It took many activists coming together to make noise, to preserve their culture and make sure that it's there for future generations. Amiri Baraka is just such a strong individual. He makes very solid points, whether that's talking about America as a whole or specifically his community. And the Black Arts Movement really showed how people coming together can make their feelings heard. It's a way of expressing themselves in more ways than just speaking, but through obviously poetry and music and whatnot. And this really made a big difference.